Hogwarts Legacy isn't completely that great of a game. So why am I disappointed with Hogwarts Legacy? Well, I'm not really that disappointed with the game. The game is actually pretty amazing. There's a lot of detail and a lot of nuance to the game. There's a lot of running around. There is lots to do to the game. However, it's far from perfect of a game. Hype for the game is very real. It is one of these games that has been a long time coming for any fan of the Harry Potter universe. Takes place in the 1800s, which I gotta say, going through the first impressions, at no point in the 5 hours that I've been able to play did I feel like I had a sense of time. Did I get an idea that this was taking place like a couple hundred years before the Harry Potter scenario happened? Nowhere close. I would imagine later on we will get an idea on what the trueness of the timeline actually is. There's a lot that I can go over with this game, and I gotta say, there's lots to do in it. There is so much to do that it is almost overwhelming at first. Run around doing all these side quests, and they want to pull you in each direction. It's like you've got a massive ADHD and you can't quite finish every little detail, but you need to run around and do every little detail. And there is so much to do in this game. It legitimately is overwhelming. It's from going for your classes to learning how to cast spells to learning the combat system, which I gotta say is not very keyboard friendly of a system. At times I'm sitting here with the keyboard trying to split my digits between pressing 1 and Z because I have the actions coming forward in a sequence that it's trying to warn me. You want to play this with a controller if you can, because the button mashing is very real when it comes to the wizard dueling. Now, the wizard dueling, it's not the base part of the game, so it's very strange to me to hone right in on that for a very expansive part of the game. There's lots to do with the wizard dueling. You even go into a wizard dueling class, sort of, when you got to sit there and press Q and then 1, 2, 3, 4, Z, X. Like, you're all over the map on your keyboard trying to play this game. And I gotta say, that is very much easier if you're playing with, say, a controller. It's a lot easier to sit there and be able to button mash your way through a lot of combat. Now, the one thing I have found with the wizard dueling is you do need to kind of slow it down a little bit. However, your targets seem to be in multiples. You're not only generally dealing with one mob, even though the first boss fight seems to be only one mob, but later on when you're doing a lot of the wizard duels, you're combative against 2 or 3 opponents, and so it makes it very difficult to sit there and slow down and just focus on one at a time. Inventory system. This is something that surprised me. I didn't expect there to actually be an inventory system for your equipment. I expected it for potion ingredients, for things that you need to collect and actually go and make for these potions in the game. But then they also had a gear inventory, and I don't understand why suddenly in a game where you have nothing but quests, and throughout the quests they're giving you more inventory or more gear that plugs up your inventory very quickly. For a game that you're running around solving puzzles for hidden items and hidden objects so you can gain better and more robust gear in the game, it makes it very difficult when you have to sit there and manage an inventory system that is not easily managed. You have to either destroy the items that you have picked up or attempt to sell them, which isn't something you do very early on in the game. You only have 20 slots of an inventory gear system, and I found this filled up within my first 4 hours of playing the game, to my dismay. I was very disappointed to find this sort of mechanic where inventory mattered in a game where quests are constantly giving you inventory. The quest played more like a World of Warcraft scenario than what it felt like for running around in the wizarding world. Now, the gear is very immense and almost like you could sit there and buy new skins for each article of clothing, which changes the look for your character immensely. There's a lot to do with there, and then there was also certain gear that you had to show on your character that I don't necessarily wanted to show on my character, just because you wore the gear, it gave you better stats and better defense or better health. But at the same time, I didn't really want to showcase that gear because I felt it took away from the natural look of the characters that we do have in this game. So the gear and the inventory system I found was very daunting, very overwhelming in that sense. And then to try and get rid of it, you literally have to go out of your way, find a shop that's nowhere in the Hogwarts castle where you've been running around for hours trying to solve all these riddles. Now you literally have to stop your game and make a offhand trip to Hogsmeade that's outside of it, which is its own immense area. And once again, you're trying to pick up all these items throughout the game, and then suddenly you can't pick them up anymore because your inventory is full. I think that is a major flaw in this game, and I think that is something that they're going to have to look at in future patches to try and manage the inventory system a lot better. Now, at the same time, you are also trying to collect gold so you can spend them on spells for more things. So this is where the inventory system kind of forces you to start selling off the inventory you gain so you can buy better spells. But at the same time, is it really necessary? I didn't think having to sell off or buy your inventory was going to be a major thing in the game. I didn't think that armor class was a matter in a wizarding world where it didn't ever seem that a inventory gear class was something of value. Now, it is very nice to be able to sit there and customize the character's look, and this is where I don't know if I end up destroying or selling these items. Can I still have the look? Can I go back to that look? There is no place to store it either. And that, I think, is a major overlook or oversight of the game. At some point, you would think you would have a chest in your common room where you can offload the gear that you have found throughout the game very much easier than having to go and make a trip to sell all your gear or destroying it on the spot. This is a major sticking point for me, especially when I hit that gear cap. I was very disappointed at that. Now, the other things that I've seen is a lack of frame rate issues with OBS or Streamlabs in particular. I streamed this for 5 hours. I had nothing but stuttering issues for my frame rate dropping. Now, this is a internal thing generally for the most part with OBS, but it wasn't solely with OBS. There was some frame rate drops that I did get in the game, which we have seen in the past for certain games that use this ray tracing and these light effects very immensely. They are a resource hog when it comes to games, and I wish lighting in these games didn't take up so much resources, where your RAM and your CPU and your GPU is maxed out just trying to make sense of the game. The major issue with the resource hogginess of Hogwarts is the assets. They have nothing but constant assets being updated and moved around in the game. And when you have all these little things everywhere, it does slow the game down and creates a problem for most PC users in the long run. Now, I know NVIDIA did come out with the drivers shortly after I was streaming, so I have now updated that, and I'm hoping a lot of that will fix. And I have been able to tweak my OBS system to try and fix the issues that I was seeing with this. Lowering the resolution doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lower the quality of your game. It just means it's going to create less pixels for the ratio that you're looking at. And it actually can make and smooth things out a lot easier for when it comes to recording and streaming at the same time. That alone kind of turned me off. I lowered my settings down completely, and I was still having issues with it, mainly because I was forced to play it in 4K because I have a 4K monitor. Now, I could have switched this off my monitor, and that would have been a complete workaround. But then, in order for me to do that, I've got to readjust everything that I'm doing for streaming. And it doesn't become a very fun spot when that type of thing gets really overlooked. I would like a little bit better control in a game that's so immense and a game that had very high accessibility options. The resolution, lack of control of that resolution, to me kind of knocks this game down quite a bit without being able to have that control. It makes it very difficult, especially when you're streaming. You can't change your settings when you're streaming in the mid of a stream without stopping the stream and going in and fixing the settings that you know you need to fix. So in a game like this, normally I would be able to sit there and adjust the game settings, but I couldn't do it because it locked it to my monitor. And a lot of games shouldn't do that. Locking it to a monitor's resolution doesn't necessarily mean it's a benefit for the streamer in particular, for the player of the game that wants to sit there and maybe record or just have fun with the game. That little detail is something that I think has been overlooked. They knew how many people would be streaming this game, and I gotta say, I had nothing but frame rate issues in particular circumstances. A lot had to do with cutscenes, a lot had to do with the translucent lighting of the sun, that suddenly beams of light would come shining in. This created a scenario that I think will be fixed in an update down the line. Now, when it came to like the NPCs and the livelihood of Hogwarts, the castle is very much alive with the armor stands walking around, coming out and moving their hands, some of them mumbling. You sit there and you get very enthralled and enhanced with the pictures as well, moving around. There's lots of life in this place, but in particular the NPCs, like the paintings did a good job, the armor stands did a good job, but a lot of the NPCs just look like they're lifeless automatons. Like they look like they're robots walking around or just staring at their cup of tea. Like they just sit there and stare at it. Or in some cases, it looks like some of them are just tweaking out because they don't look like they belong there suddenly and they don't know what to do with themselves. What's that in your mug?
Are you having butterbeer for breakfast?
Oh no. I've been perfecting a recipe I came up with over the summer.
What's going on with this kid in the background,
based on
guys?
Some reactions it may need a bit more
like
work.
literally, he's looking around like, I shouldn't be here, and he's tapping his fingers on his pants. Like what?
Seems you enjoy
Go
brewing.
back to him.
Might I assume that you've a talent for potions of all sorts?
Well, as
Oh,
I
it
see
doesn't go
there's
back
little
to him.
difference fundamentally between brewing a modification to
Gareth is more
butterbeer
pathetic than
and
Ron.
a Wiggenweld potion.
He's
So,
on the magic
I'm not
mushroom.
certain
Yeah, here it is.
Professor Sharp
Here
would
it is.
make
The
the
kid's
connection.
like
He
looking
doesn't
around. He
appreciate
looks like he's
my,
constipated and needs to go to the
creativity as much
bathroom.
as you might think.
Overall, the game is pretty fun. There's lots to do. You have a world to explore. I'm only 5 hours in. I expect it to pick up quite a bit more for things that I can do with the game. But these little nuanced details to the game, there's something that have been kind of overlooked, I think. The inventory system I am very disappointed with. The NPCs, the scripted NPCs is very, very unique to the game. It makes for some funny moments. And in the frame rate issues, like there was a little bit of clipping that I could see just by recording a little bit here. The game itself seems to play fine. It's just trying to record gameplay. For some reason, it creates this conflict and creates this frame rate issue. And so ultimately, it lessens the experience that I want to share with everyone else. Now, overall, I think the game is still very good. Do I think it's a 10 out of 10? Not even close. Right now I'm sitting at about a 7.5, maybe an 8. We'll have to wait to see a little bit more as I play this game a little bit and move up in that rank to get a better idea of how to play this game. But you know, the combat system where you almost absolutely need a controller or need to rebind your keys makes it a very difficult place. I like to run around in these games with the keyboard and mouse. To me, it feels a lot more natural than a controller, where a controller, you got to sit there and you have the buttons, and yeah, you have the buttons, but it's not really what I want to do. I want to play with a keyboard and mouse because it's on my PC. Not necessarily because I have a controller or don't have a controller. It's I don't want to have to sit there and button mash the dueling. And that was one thing that I found very, very knocky towards the game. Anyway, guys, I've been your proud Canadian Phoenix. I will still be playing this game. I will still be streaming it. So do like, subscribe to the channel, check out the streams as they happen. Until next time, you guys have a great day. I will see you all once again.